Found out I'm pregnant, so I called up my ex, who's a lawyer. I asked him to cover the prenatal checkup and nutrition costs. He laughed in disbelief. Emma, need I remind you, we broke up 3 years ago. I sighed in relief. Good, if you're not paying, then you have no claim over custody. Dating a lawyer, you gotta be a bit slick. I haven't had my period for 3 weeks, and now I'm staring at a pregnancy test with 2 lines. My mind is all over the place. The baby's dad isn't just anyone, it's my ex, Barry, a top lawyer in City A. A while back, we had a class reunion. Barry, who never drank, got plastered along with the rest. Everyone knows about us, so they thought it'd be funny if I took him home. But I hadn't been to his place in years. So, I booked a hotel room instead. While drunk, he actually called out my name. My heart softened, and I answered. Next thing I remember, I was awkwardly leaving the hotel, one hand on my back. That messy night led to me being pregnant. After much hesitation, I decided to reach out to Barry. I got straight to the point. Could you cover the prenatal and nutrition expenses? Barry looked at me blankly. What, did the kid's dad bail on you? I shot back, also, someone like you, so money-focused, what guy wouldn't be scared? Seems like after all this time, you haven't changed a bit. Thinking of our ugly breakup, I pursed my lips. Wanting to change the subject, I raised an eyebrow. If you don't want responsibility or to pay up, you can't fight me for custody. Barry wrinkled the papers he was holding with a laugh. Custody? Emma, do you still think I'm that same Barry who'd take on your baggage? I grinned. Don't worry, I'll find a stepdad for the kid. With that, I turned and left. Everyone knew I had a crush on Barry in high school. I'd wait in the freezing wind just to say goodnight. Because he liked smart girls, I studied hard, breaking into the top 10 in just 2 weeks. I even spent years in the library for him, attending every possible law lecture just to be closer. It all seemed worth it when he asked, "Your name's Emma, right?" After 3 years of pursuing him, we finally got together 2 months before graduation. My roommates joked about my luck, but I just smiled. Once we were a couple, he'd bring me breakfast, and I'd no longer be alone in the library. Everyone thought we'd be happy forever, until I blindsided him with a breakup 2 days before graduation. I broke it off, and yet I was the one shattered. He was surprisingly calm, though I later heard him say I became his forbidden topic. I thought that would be it for us, until my parents announced their divorce. The last straw was that Barry was their mediator. Walking into the mediation room, I saw Barry, composed, typing away. Your parents are pretty rough this time. Any thoughts as their kid? Gripping my skirt hem, I admitted it was embarrassing. They're actually okay most of the time. He scoffed. Constant fights, disturbing the neighbors, that's okay? I held my breath. Glancing up, his cold eyes piercing. Emma, your dad disapproved of me for lacking wealth, and I thought your life would be great. Sensing the sarcasm, I stayed calm. We're here for my parents. I understood his dig. My dad forced him abroad back then for being poor. He paused his typing. Emma, you need the right attitude if you mess up. I interrupted. Please focus on my parents' case. I rushed home, thinking I kept my pregnancy well hidden, until Mom showed up with milk and eggs. Emma, you need nutrients these days, she said. Seeing her care package, I sighed. Yeah. Sensing my mood, she quietly asked, what's your plan? Still scrolling my phone, I replied, I'm having the baby alone. She froze, dropping an egg. As I grabbed a broom, I said, Mom, if you can't live with Dad anymore, maybe it's time to split. People say you shouldn't encourage a split. But I've seen their endless fights for years. It's exhausting. Her tears fell. If it weren't for you back then, I'd have left your dad. Emma, listen. Once you have a kid, you put up with things. When they grow up. I cut her off, so when the kid's grown, I end up like you, fighting all the time? Mom looked sorry. I'm only trying to protect you. If you can't talk to him, who's the dad? I'll find him. Feeling overwhelmed, I shouted, "Enough. I'm not you. I'll protect my kid, even on my own. Miss me with this can't live without a man nonsense." Mom cried harder, "Emma, your dad's just got a temper sometimes. Just like forcing Barry out was meant for your benefit." I laughed bitterly. "So you're okay living under his control forever?" After saying that, I stormed out the door. Sitting on the bus, rubbing my belly, I suddenly regretted fighting with my mom. Maybe she did mess up, but she's been through a lot these past years. I don't even remember how I got to the OBGYN, it was all a blur. The only thing I heard was the doctor telling me that the baby wasn't stable and I needed to control my emotions. She gave me some meds to help keep the pregnancy and then gave me a look, saying I should come with the baby's dad next time. I almost replied that the baby's dad wouldn't come with me, but I held back. Mom's words kept echoing in my mind that a child with both parents has a more complete life. On the way back, I couldn't help it and called Barry. "What's up?" He answered with his usual cold tone. I hesitated, "Nothing." There was a long pause, then he spoke up, "Can't find another guy to take over? Is that why you're bothering me? You're reading too much into it. Just wanted to let you know to take care of my parents' issues." I tried to hang up, but he stopped me. "You." Hearing just the start, I could feel his anger through the phone. "Emma, you're saying the kid is mine. Don't I deserve a reason? So, are you planning to accept it?" I was about to say more when another call interrupted. I tried ignoring it, but it kept ringing. I told Barry we'd talk next time, and he hung up with a cold laugh. It was my neighbor calling, her voice urgent. "Emma, where are you? Hurry back, your parents are fighting. Your dad grabbed a knife from the kitchen, and we're struggling to hold him back. I felt a headache coming on. Please hold them back, I'm on my way." As I got home, I heard crashes. A plate flew through the door and nearly hit me. Ignoring the mess, I rushed in and found my dad choking my mom. I frantically hit my dad's back. "Dad, what are you doing? You trying to kill her?" Red-eyed, he shoved me hard, but luckily, a neighbor caught me. My mom was losing, still hurling insults as she clawed at his hair. Getting between them did nothing, my head was buzzing. "Enough. You really want blood?" My shout made them freeze. Mom was disheveled and started crying in my arms. "Emma, why'd you take so long? Any later, and I'd be dead." Dad tried to hit her again, but I pulled Mom away. The slap hit me instead, knocking me into the side table. My vision blurred, and before blacking out, I vaguely heard neighbors shouting for an ambulance. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a white room. Barry sat by my bed, looking worried. At least, I thought so. "Why are you here?" Ignoring my question, he asked, "Why'd you get involved knowing you're pregnant?" My hand instinctively went to my belly. "Is the baby okay?" I knew it was. I can tell with my own body. "Yeah," Barry said flatly, clearly upset. "I was always getting small injuries here and there." Barry used to get mad about it when we dated, but it was out of concern. I'd seen that look before. Raising an eyebrow, I asked, "Barry, you worried about me?" He glared. "Why should I be worried? Who are you to me?" Wow, as cold as he was before I got him. All right, you're not worried, not one bit." Barry paused, then asked, "Emma, why did you break up with me back then?" I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Yeah, I messed up breaking up with him. I was young and dumb, didn't know how to handle feelings, and then things at home. I sighed, thinking of how to explain, well. But then the doctor came in, stopping my words. Barry stepped aside to give space. The doctor glared at Barry, filled with blame. In her eyes, Barry was far from an ideal partner or dad. "It's a good thing you didn't miscarry, but the baby isn't stable. You need to be more cautious," she said. "Remember, you're pregnant." I nodded, yes, I'll be careful." Then she turned to Barry. Barry hesitated, then stepped forward, as obedient as I was. Doctor, please go on. Startled, Barry got an earful about being a lousy husband. She came alone last time, and now she's injured? You should know pregnant women need extra care, especially in the first 3 months. You have to pay more attention. I glanced at Barry, biting back laughter. Barry, always the school star, never got scolded like this. Clearing my throat, I stifled a giggle. After the doctor finished with instructions and left, Barry saw her out, thanking her profusely. Coming back, seeing me grinning, he shot me a glare. I zipped my lips. With a smug look, I teased, "No one forced you to come, you're here by choice." Barry stopped by my bed, looked down at me. He raised an eyebrow. Really? Is it true the doctor called me using your phone? First thing he asked was, "Are you Emma's husband?" Emma, did you save my name as husband? I swallowed a bit. Where's my phone? Barry seemed to read my mind and nodded towards the small table by the bed. Phone's right there, he said, getting up to hand it to me. When did this guy become so cheeky? I pursed my lips and said, "I saved you as kid's dad." Forgot to change it. I'll do it now. I unlocked the phone, changed the contact name in one go, feeling pretty gutsy. I looked up and met Barry's deep, calm gaze. But I knew that calmness was just on the surface. Underneath, it was all turbulent. I felt a bit guilty, blinked, and changed the subject. Where are my parents? Barry answered calmly, "They're fine, went home. Your mom wanted to stay but left when she saw me. I know her decision. She hopes Barry and I get back together, you know, for the kid. Just as she's been dealing with my dad for years. So when can I be discharged?" Barry said, "Anytime." I really wasn't feeling any discomfort, so I threw off the covers. "Then I'll leave now." Barry stopped me, "Stay another day." His face was still cold, tone pretty harsh, but I knew he was concerned about me. Barry was always just a bit arrogant but always so gentle. I lay back down with a slight smile, "I'm gonna listen to you." Barry stayed for another day to make sure me and the baby were okay before doing the discharge paperwork. He dropped me off at my apartment. We didn't talk on the way. Barry left right after he dropped me off. I felt a little bittersweet about it, thinking about the heartbreak I caused when we broke up. I figured I shouldn't feel bad. Half an hour later, Barry came back with 2 big grocery bags. Turns out he went to get groceries. Made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I walked behind him into the kitchen with a skip in my step. "Barry, making me dinner?" He loaded the groceries into the fridge, gave me a cold look but said nothing, and nudged me out. I sat on the couch and texted my mom, "Have you figured things out with Dad yet?" She replied, "Do you think I don't want a divorce? But if I do, how will I survive on my own? I was planning on you supporting me, but you're pregnant now, you're gonna have a kid. I don't want to be a burden." It was a heavy weight on my chest. Family stuff is always the worst for me. I typed more firmly, "You're not even 50 yet. You can find work and support yourself." This time, she sent a voice message, her voice all choked up. "Easy for you to say, what can I even do out there?" I felt so powerless. Leaned back on the couch, took a deep breath, and tried to be patient. "Mom, just step out once. The rest will be easier. Move in with me. You won't need to buy much, and you could save a bit even with a small income." Sent 2 voice messages right away. But her reply was, "I'll see what your dad says." Put my phone down, leaned back, closed my eyes feeling drained. That's when I heard Barry's voice, "Come eat something." I got up and went to the kitchen. Barry had cooked 2 of my favorite dishes. He placed a bowl of rice before me, hesitated for a moment, then asked, "What's wrong?" I didn't want to talk about the family stuff with Barry. My parents never had a good marriage, always fighting. I never talked to Barry about it when we dated. All my insecurities come from my parents not getting along. I shook my head. After a moment, Barry said, Emma, at least now, we're friends. Aside from my lawyer role, I think the best thing for your parents is to separate. Barry left after doing the dishes. I kept thinking about what he said. I used to wish they'd divorce. Especially my dad. Honestly, he's been decent to me. But as a husband to my mom? Yeah, completely useless. And my mom? All talk, soft heart. Been nice to him but says the worst things. You're the worst, man. Are you even a man, you coward? Just a family of cowards. I could do better with any guy. Try to hit me, I dare you. Round and round it went until one day my dad snapped and hit back, couldn't stop after that. They might have loved each other once, but marriage just made them sharper, cutting into each other instead of smoothing things over. I decided to have a serious talk with them both. Went home the next day. First time I ever had a heart-to-heart with them. You two should just divorce. Dad, you stay at home. Mom will come with me. But don't worry, I won't neglect you. Give me a few years to settle down, I'll bring you over, get you a place nearby. They exchanged a glance, said nothing, but agreed. Before leaving with my mom, my dad asked, Emma, are you mad at me? Looked at him, my old man. For over 20 years, he was never harsh with me. Always worked hard with no complaints for my sake. Except once when I was with Barry. It upset him that Barry was broke. He said back then, I did everything for you in this life. You with someone like that? When I'm gone, will he take care of you? Smiled tearfully, Dad, what are you talking about? Just give me more time, I'll bring you over. Dad saw us out. I got on the bus and looked back. My dad stood there, watching the direction the bus was leaving and wiping his tears. When I got back to the apartment, my mom asked me, how are things with Barry? I thought, well, I had my parents split, so I should set an example for my mom. So I said, things are over with Barry. I can raise the kid by myself. My mom sighed, don't worry, your dad and I are here too. The three of us can't raise one child? I laughed, exactly. Then, while my mom was cooking in the kitchen, Barry knocked on the door. I quickly pushed him out. His face turned dark as a pot's bottom. I hurriedly explained. Barry's face finally softened a bit, and he handed me a bag. Since someone is taking care of you, I'll leave now. I gladly took the bag. Barry, you came to cook for me? You're taking care of all my meals? Barry scoffed, Emma, I'm really busy. I don't have time for your stuff. Then he left. That guy, when he dies and gets cremated, there'll probably be nothing left but his lips. I took the bag to the kitchen. Mom was surprised, when did you buy this? I quickly lied, bought it this morning, forgot to bring it to the kitchen. Mom glanced at the door, who knocked just now? Maintenance, bothering me all day. I set the bag down and hurried out. Then I messaged Barry. Barry, thanks a bunch. With a cute emoji. Barry replied with a short no problem and nothing else. My emoji was so obviously meant to please him. He's smart, he had to notice, right? Still mad at me, I guess. Come to think of it, I do owe Barry an apology. My dad once told him he wasn't good enough for me unless he made tons of money so I could live a good life. My dad isn't very ambitious, he just wants to make sure I never worry about money. He thinks having money equals a good life. He also thinks the reason my mom argues with him is 'cause he hasn't made enough money for us to live well. My dad even kept me at home, stopping me from seeing Barry. The day I broke up with Barry, I was at the hospital. My dad got into an accident while driving a truck, and the doctor said he might not be able to keep his legs. I knew my dad was thinking about me, got distracted while driving. I regretted not listening to him and even having a big fight over Barry. I prayed for my dad's safety. Maybe someone up there heard me, 'cause my dad kept his legs. When my dad was discharged, I found a small box at home. It had a yacht model inside, made by Barry. I had once said I loved the sea, that if I had a yacht, I'd sail out every day. That model is still on my nightstand. I know Barry hates me. I don't expect us to get back together. But meeting again this time, however oddly, we ended up having a kid. Even though he's been cold to me, still resenting me, I can see he cares. So, I want to try. Patch up the rift between us. That evening, Barry called. I was thrilled to pick up, jokingly asked if he missed me. Barry's voice was firm. Emma, I'd like to discuss your parents. His businesslike tone really called for a meeting at a cafe. Barry ordered his own coffee and got me orange juice. He started with his business tone, so restrained. What did you decide about your parents? I sat up straight. I already separated them. My mom's with me, and my dad's back home. This way is better. Barry's eyes darkened, and he took a sip of coffee. I leaned in softly. Barry, do you think I did well? Are you a bit disappointed there's no excuse for us to meet again? A mocking look flashed across his handsome face. Emma, who do you think you are? His words hit me cold. I opened my mouth, but Barry stood up slowly, looking at me with detached eyes. Since you've taken care of it, I'll go now. With that, he turned and left without hesitation. I quickly caught up to him at the door. Barry, Emma, you're pregnant. He reminded sternly. I steadied myself, tentatively held his hand. Barry, I have something to say. He pulled his hand away, looking elsewhere, speaking coolly. Say it quickly, I'm short on time. I'm sorry. I said sincerely. Though those 3 words can't make up for the pain I caused Barry, I still owe him an apology. Barry seemed surprised by my apology. For a moment, his expression softened slightly. Why are you apologizing? The kid's yours. It's yours too. I pursed my lips, but that's not why I'm apologizing. I owe you an apology from 3 years ago. Barry chuckled lightly. Should I say, it's okay? I hung my head. No need. Barry was silent for a while. I thought he'd left. Then I looked up and met his deep gaze. He let out a barely audible sigh, a hint of compromise in his tone. All right, I'll take you back to work. I nodded. We didn't speak on the way back to work. I said goodbye and headed inside. Emma. Barry called from behind. I quickly turned around. He watched me for a moment. Next checkup, call me. Then he left. I couldn't help but grin from ear to ear. From now on, I'll try my best to make up for how I hurt Barry 3 years ago. After work, I came home to my mom happily singing in the kitchen. I opened the door. Mom, what's got you so happy? While cooking, my mom said, I found a job. The building's hiring a cleaner. I had an interview today, and I got it. Working here makes me feel at ease. We celebrated a bit that night. Before bed, I texted Barry. My mom found a job. Barry, congrats. Just 2 cold words. I texted again. Other than my maternity check UPS, can I see you? Barry, sure. Gee. Pretend all you want. I tossed my phone aside and fell asleep. Had a great night's sleep. The next morning, I grabbed my phone. Turns out Barry sent another message last night. Good night. Just like when we were dating. He'd always end our chats with those 2 words. It's like those 3 years never happened. Feels good. The weekend came, and Friday afternoon I called Barry. Are you free tomorrow? Barry, no. How does he only string 2 words together like that? Fine, you keep busy. I hung up, feeling kind of bummed out. This doesn't feel like when we first started dating at all. It's like back to when I was chasing Barry. He's still like an iceberg, so hard to read. I pulled myself together and focused on work. My manager wanted to talk. Said a lot, but the takeaway was clear. Having a baby now is not smart. She's moving up next year and plans to recommend me for her position because I'm good at my job. But here I am, pregnant. At that moment, I realized I'd never considered getting rid of the baby. From the moment I knew I was pregnant, I was determined to have this baby. Boss, I promise, I can balance home and work. She frowned. I didn't like what she said next. Why should you balance everything? What about your husband? Why can't he balance it? She went on, I'm not saying it's smart to be pregnant now so that you get rid of the baby. I'm saying talk it out with your husband. Of course, your family stuff is not my business. If you want to be a full-time mom, hey, that's fine. I stood straight. Boss, there's no way I'll give up my career. She nodded, satisfied. All right, carry on. I should seriously sit down with Barry and talk about it. Not just about the baby. But also about us. We need an open conversation. It's quitting time. I handed the project plan to my boss and left work. Emma. Someone called out to me. I looked up. A middle-aged man I didn't know was looking at me. Tall and handsome. Of course, not as good-looking or as tall as Barry. I stared at him, confused. He came over with a smile, reaching out his hand. Hi, Ken. Hello. I was a bit slow to respond. Ken let go of my hand, smiled, and said, Sorry if I startled you. But your aunt said you get off around this time. I was just in the area, so I thought I'd drop by. Didn't expect to see you right away. I was even more confused. Aunt? Ken paused. She didn't mention anything? I pulled out my phone, checking messages. Just then noticed my mom's text. Sweetie, I found you a match from our neighborhood. He's divorced with a kid living with his ex-wife. He's a decent guy. You two should chat. I checked my new contacts, and sure enough, Ken had sent a request. When busy, it's hard to keep up with personal messages. If I'd known, could have avoided this awkward situation. I just saw Mom's message now. Ken smiled again. My bad. Sorry. He's being pretty nice about it. I forced a smile. I should be the one apologizing. Actually, Ken glanced at my belly, went quiet, and then said, Your situation, yeah, your aunt filled me in. No need to apologize. I wasn't apologizing for that. I cleared my throat and whispered, I like someone else. Looking at Ken, I explained seriously, I like someone else. I'm trying to get him back, even though it's not easy. But I've got high hopes. Then I added apologetically, Mr. Ken, I didn't tell my mom, that's why she. Ken looked a bit awkward, but he kept his composure. Got it. I apologized again. Ken said, No worries, just friends then. Since we're neighbors, wanna head back together? I knew Ken was just being polite. I wasn't taking it seriously. Thank you, but I got some things to handle, won't be going home yet. Ken nodded with a smile, Okay, I'll get going. I watched him leave, feeling a bit relieved. Decided to fake going back to the office for something. Then turned around. Barry? When did he get here? I was thrilled, rushed over. Why are you here? Thought you were busy? Barry gave me this icy look. Froze the smile on my face. What's up? Barry's cold eyes looked towards where Ken left. Is that the father of your baby? I glanced back. We just talked, now he's my baby's dad. Does Barry still not believe the baby is his? Who was the jerk making moves on me that night? I got mad. Sure, if you say so. Barry stared at me intensely. Why'd he come see you? Emma, you planning to marry him? I stubbornly held my ground, none of your business. It's indeed not my business, I poked my nose where it didn't belong. Barry turned and left. Fine, leave then. I did too. Back home, my mom noticed I was angry. Asked what happened. How'd it go with Ken? Even though I'm mad at Barry, I needed to be clear with Mom. I'm trying to win Barry back. Not that hard yet, honestly, just that. I still like Barry, so please stop setting me up. My mom nodded. Fair point, since he is the father. Plus, now he's got money, that's good. I pressed my lips. It's not about the money. Young lovebirds always think love is enough, but what's the baby gonna drink? Just water? Mom started to nag. Just like she nags Dad. I guess she'll never change. My mom was at it again, saying stuff like you can't do without a man, as she headed into the kitchen. Seeing that, I followed her and asked if she was tired from the work today. She said, don't I do this stuff at home too? What's tiring about it? After the meal's ready, you go ahead and eat first. I still have work to finish after. Why do you still come back to cook? I can handle it myself. She gave me a playful glare. What can you cook? Your health's been unstable since day one. Just take it easy. I think you should quit your job too. Barry can take care of you. I figured we just couldn't communicate anymore, so I turned and walked away. After eating, my mom left, and I went back to my project. I didn't hit the bed until past 11. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Barry calling. His voice was all slurred, calling my name over and over. Must be drunk again. I asked where he was, but he couldn't tell me. Finally, I got the address out of him and rushed over. Got him to a hotel, all drunk and stuff. This guy, for the second time. Emma, just like the other night, he kept calling my name. No way I was answering. Not with the baby on the way. Seeing he was okay, I left. Next morning, Barry called. He apologized. Was it you who took me to the hotel last night? I'm sorry, did I do anything? I rolled my eyes over the phone. You wouldn't let me leave, holding and kissing me, calling me your dearest baby. Barry, calmly but firmly, interrupted, I wouldn't do that. If not you, then who? Who held me down on the bed last time and didn't let me go? If not you, then whose baby is this? Silence. A long one. I couldn't hold it, talk. After another long pause, Barry, incredulously, that night, really my? I hung up. Let him guess. After breakfast, I went downstairs, and there he was, Barry, about to enter. When he saw me, he grabbed my shoulders, urgently asking, Emma, is the baby mine? I tilted my chin up, nope. Barry's grin widened. It is mine. So that night we really did. With people passing by, I covered his mouth and dragged him aside. You may not care, but I still have my image. With tears in his red eyes, Barry said, so it really did happen? I thought I dreamed it when I didn't see you in the morning. I chuckled dryly, dream, huh? Then he hugged me, careful not to hurt the baby when pulling me closer. Emma, I'm sorry. Turns out he genuinely didn't know. What an idiot. I sighed, all right, I'm a magnanimous person. I forgive you. Let's call it even. Barry released me, tears welling up in his eyes. No, it's my fault. Seeing him cry made me want to cry too. We both still clearly felt something for each other. I explained why I broke up with him back then. I continued, my dad almost lost his legs because of me. I was filled with guilt, only thinking about him. I know I shouldn't justify him, but my dad was brainwashed by my mom, so he said those hurtful words to you. It's my fault I didn't handle it well. Barry, I'm sorry. Barry hugged me again. It's all in the past. Later on, I had a baby girl. Named her Nancy. Finished my maternity leave and rushed back to work. I'm a supervisor now, gotta hold on to it. Barry's mom and the nanny were taking care of the baby. I'm free to dive into work. But Barry kept coming up with stuff for me. One day after work, he asked me to meet at the bay. Arriving, I saw him on a yacht. Once I got on, everyone else popped out. My parents, my friends, my co-workers. His family, friends, co-workers. With them witnessing, Barry knee in front of me, opening a little red box. The big diamond ring glistened in the sunlight. With tears in his eyes, Barry said, "Honey, you can wear a wedding dress now. Will you marry me?" I started to cry too. Stretched out my hand. Later, we had this grand wedding. We already got the marriage certificate and lived together. I put a down payment on a house with my salary I saved over the years. My parents live there now. Even though they're divorced, they're just roommates now. This actually helped them get along better. My mom's still working her cleaning job. My dad's still driving his truck. They spend their free time watching the baby. Life is calm and peaceful. At night, I nestled in Barry's arms, sharing childhood stories. He held me tight, silently assuring me, "It's all good now, I have a happy family." Nancy's cry pierced the moment. Barry got up, picked up Nancy, and placed her between us. Her crying stopped. Barry wrapped our hands in his, leaned over, and kissed my forehead. In the warm light, his eyes sparkled. He said, "Emma, I love you. Always."